Hey there, Rajat here. So I'm recording this video during the midnight because I just have to get it out because Node 20 have just dropped and it has included some really great features that I think you should be aware of. Now there are two major features that come with Node version 20 that I'm particularly interested about. So let's get to what's included in Node v20. So the very first and the very welcoming change that they have introduced is this permission model. So basically they have introduced a model where you can restrict Node from accessing certain systems. So what systems can be made inaccessible using this permission model are listed over here. So you can make the file system inaccessible, the child processes inaccessible, the worker threads inaccessible, and even the native add-ons inaccessible to the node process. Now this is a welcoming change because this will make our applications more secure. If you want to log that node process down, then you can do it now. Now this is very similar to Deno and they might have taken some inspiration from Deno. So let's see how this thing works. So here is an example of a worker. So I have taken this example from their own demonstration from here. So what is happening in this particular example is that it is simply creating a worker and just asking it to print word to the console. Let's see how this thing works. Now I am in the same directory where this file is located, and if I do something like this worker.js, it will run without any problem because this is the existing model. But if we want to enable the permission model, we have to use the experimental flag, experimental permission. Now everything starts with the experimental flag in Node.js, and once it graduates, it becomes a stable feature. Then you do not have to use this experimental flags in order to use that particular feature. So this feature is introduced with Node v20 itself. That is why it is in experimental phase. And based on how the community responds to this feature, it will go into the stable mode. So that will happen in the future, but for the timing, let's see how this thing works. So if I do this now I will run into the access denied error because the file system access has been revoked. Now if I want to enable the file system access to this worker.js module, I have to do something like allow fs, this is file system read. Now I can provide it read to anything. So since I'm using ZSH, I'm using this /*. Otherwise, this is the syntax. Since I'm using ZSH, this is going to be the syntax. And now I can get rid of the file system error, but I have run into the other error because the worker threads are also restricted, as you can see from here that these many systems are restricted. So in order to enable the worker threads, I have to do this allow worker. I hope the syntax is okay. So if I do this, then the program will run, and here is the output, and here are some of the logs. So this way the permission model works. Let's see what other features are there. So they have something related to custom ESM loader hooks. So to me this was not that enticing. So in case you want to see a video on ESM loaders in Node.js, make sure you leave a comment and I will record a video. But for the time being, this is not that much of an interesting feature for now, and we can move on. So with v20, the V8 engine that powers the Node.js platform has also been upgraded. So with the newer version of V8 comes these new changes which can be used in your Node.js programs. Again, this is not that much of an interesting feature, but now comes the most interesting feature. Now this is a game changer because traditionally we are required to use external test runners for writing unit test cases, but now the Node ecosystem has its own inbuilt and supported test runner, so that now we do not have to use external tools like Jest or Mocha in order to write unit test cases. This is a really great deal. Even at my company we use Mocha and everything to write unit test cases, and these are external dependencies. If you can have a lesser number of external dependency, I mean as less as possible, it is really good because the underlying platform gives you all the tools that you need in order to deliver a really well tested solution. So let's see how this stable test runner works. I have created one file called test.js and it is really simple. So I have imported two modules from this node test package, that is test and mock. So what I have done in this case is that I have mocked the seal method of the math library and I have asked it to return 10 every single time whenever this seal function is called on math. Then I have written a test case. I expected that they would support expect keyword out of the box instead of test, because that is how we have been writing test cases traditionally. So I thought that they would support the expect keyword, this keyword, because we have seen this in Mocha and in Jest, but this is not supported. They have introduced this test keyword, but it is okay, we can live with this. What I have done in this test case is that I have simply called the math ceiling function on this number and I expect it to be equal to 10 because I have mocked this function. So let's see how this function works. So I will do node and then test.js, and this thing will give me an error since this is not a module. So I have to convert this thing into a module, and for that I can rename this file to mjs, and then I can come back here and run node and test.mjs, and the test has failed as it is not defined. So I need to introduce assert in my file. Let's see how can I do that. Let's see if it works now, and now the test case passes. So I was missing an import, and that is how the test case works. So I think like this is a really great change, and you should be using these functionalities in order to write unit test cases. And hey, do write unit test cases for business critical applications. And then comes the performance part. So they have introduced some performance related tweaks into node v20. This is just like a regular thing, and then they are working on something called as single executable apps, which means that the node.js runtime can be bundled with the application so that the end users do not have to install node.js separately in order to run your program. So they have made some great strides into that thing, but again this thing is not yet ready. You cannot use it like just snapping two fingers. So I will leave it at that because this feature is not ready for production use as of now. Again, there are some crypto web API changes, not that important. WASI changes, again not that important from the perspective of a day-to-day web developer. So this was Node V20 for you. In case you want to see more such videos, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and comment on this video that we want more such stuff in the future. And with that, I see you guys over in the next video.